Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People story. When my grandfather passed away last year, he left me a beautiful piece of land out in the countryside. It was a sprawling 25 acres with a small pond, wooded areas, and open grassy meadows. I have such fond memories of spending summers there as a kid, running through the trees and swimming in the pond. Grandpa would take me hiking and teach me about all the birds and plants on the property. It was our special place. So when he left it to me in his will, I was overjoyed and couldn't wait to move out there. I had always been more of a country girl at heart. Getting away from the noise and crowds of the city was my dream. After the will cleared probate, I started planning my move. I had the perfect little prefab cabin delivered and set up right near the pond. I was all set to start my new life. That's when the trouble began. One Saturday morning, I was out on my land planning some landscaping when a fancy BMW pulled up the dirt road. A man in a tailored suit stepped out and headed in my direction. I figured he was lost, so I walked over to help give him directions back to the highway. "Can I help you find your way?" I asked politely. "No, I'm exactly where I intend to be," the man replied curtly. "I'm here on behalf of the Tall Oaks Homeowners Association. You must be the new owner of this unlawful dwelling on homeowner association lands." I stared at him in confusion. "I'm sorry, what are you talking about?" "This is my private property. I'm not part of any homeowner association." The man laughed derisively. "That's what they all say, but I have the homeowner association covenants right here, and this parcel is clearly identified. You can't just buy land in a development and not join the homeowner association. It's mandatory membership, which means you have to follow the rules, and we have not approved this thing you've built here." My head was spinning trying to make sense of what he was saying. Grandpa had never mentioned anything about an homeowner association when he left me the land. I tried to explain this to the man, but he ignored me. "Here is your official notice that you are in violation of homeowner association regulations," he said, slapping a document against my chest. "You have 30 days to either submit plans for an approved structure and landscape or remove this eyesore altogether. Otherwise, we will see you in court." And with that, he turned sharply and headed back to his car, kicking up plumes of dust as he raced back down the road. I stood there feeling numb, clutching those menacing documents in my hand. I couldn't believe what was happening. Over the next few days, I pored over the paperwork he gave me. It referenced covenants, restrictions, fees, and all sorts of legal lingo about the Tall Oaks Homeowner Association. There were plans that showed boundaries of the homeowner association development, and sure enough, Grandpa's land was clearly within them. How could he have neglected to tell me this? I asked my aunt about it, since she had helped Grandpa with his affairs in his later years. She was just as stunned as I was. As far as she knew, he had never joined the homeowner association or paid any dues. The land had been in our family for decades before talk of an homeowner association ever came up. She thought Grandpa had made sure to keep the land separate. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't afford a long court battle, even if I was in the right. And I definitely couldn't afford to uproot the cabin and abandon the property. That's when I realized I needed to get a lawyer of my own. The real estate attorney I hired was optimistic after reviewing all the paperwork. He said it was pretty clear that Grandpa's land was never legally made part of the homeowner association's jurisdiction. He wrote them an official letter stating my rights to the property and that I would not be complying with their demands. Of course, the homeowner association didn't back down. A few weeks later, a process server showed up with a lawsuit, trying to claim I was obstructing the homeowner association's ability to enforce their rules. It accused me of devaluing all surrounding properties by refusing to adhere to homeowner association standards. I was not about to cave in and lose my land. This was Grandpa's legacy to me. I told my lawyer to fight them with everything he had. What followed were the most agonizing few months as we went back and forth in court. The homeowner association had deep pockets, though, and kept finding ways to prolong the lawsuit and drive up my legal costs. My lawyer kept reassuring me that the law was on our side, but it was taking forever for the wheels of justice to turn. Finally, we had a major breakthrough. My lawyer uncovered documents that showed back when the homeowner association was first established. Grandpa had expressly rejected joining or allowing his land to be included. He cited concerns that the homeowner association would interfere with his lifestyle and stewardship of the rural setting. Armed with this evidence, my lawyer filed a motion asserting that the homeowner association had no legal authority over my land. The judge agreed and dismissed the lawsuit entirely on the basis of improper jurisdiction. I remember crying tears of relief when I got the news. The fight wasn't completely over, though. Even with the lawsuit dismissed, the homeowner association continued harassing me, probably hoping I would get fed up and move away. They kept sending people to inspect my property, looking for any petty violation they could latch on to, and they added all kinds of legal mumbo-jumbo to their bylaws to try and prohibit the undesirable influences of my cabin. Eventually, I'd had enough of their bullying. With my lawyer's assistance, I fought back hard. We sent cease and desist notices for trespassing whenever their inspectors showed up, and we lobbied the county regulators to intervene against the homeowner association overstepping their boundaries. After a lot of back and forth, we finally reached a settlement agreement. The homeowner association signed a binding contract to never again assert any claim or control over my property. They paid a hefty sum to cover my legal fees as well. It felt so good to walk away the victor after everything they put me through. In the years since, I've enjoyed my peaceful homeowner association-free country living to the fullest. I added a wraparound porch to take in the beautiful views across the meadows, and last spring, I rescued a few baby goats that now have free rein of the land to clear brush and entertain me. Grandpa would surely get a kick out of seeing this stubborn old goat happily living her life, without an homeowner association in sight. This land is my true home, and I will gladly fight forever to keep it that way. The next one is a pro-revenge story. This happened when I was 19, so about 5 years ago. I was walking home from a friend's house one morning and had my headphones in. He lived a bit out of town. We lived in a small town of 4,000 people. As I was walking, I turned the corner to get onto the main road. I had a big ditch to the left of me, and a row of rundown houses to the right. Then I see 2 dogs running towards me. I'm used to dogs running around here and looking for treats or to get pet. Anyways, one dog quits running while the other, a boxer breed, runs towards me. He bites my ankle. He latches down, ducking hard. I scream out in pain. He drags me down into the ditch. I fall on my back, look up and see this dog dive at my face. I kick him in the face and jump up. There is a car honking at me that is trying to get me to get in. I crawl up the ditch. Dog bites my leg again. Kick it, then get to the car. Dog jumps up at me. I block it with my arm. Now I have one bloody leg and one scratched up arm that is bleeding profusely. I get into the car and land in the lap of 2 women. I'm apologizing, asking to be taken to the hospital. I'm a ducking mess. One woman says my name and says we were classmates. I apologize that I don't recognize her. They are coming home from church. I jumped into a car of Jehovah's Witnesses. The driver says he's going to drive slowly past the place. We see the boxer dog run up to a house, a woman looking outside, checking to see if the coast is clear, and lets him inside. Duck that idiot. I call my mom and explain to her I'm heading to the hospital. She laughs, but then realizes I'm serious. We get there. I apologize for the blood on their car and get wheelchaired into the hospital. I have a nurse working on my arm and a doctor working on my leg. Wound wasn't deep enough for stitches, but the tooth got wiggled around when I tried getting him off. The bite mark is pouring out blood. It takes about 10 of those iodine needle things to clean it out. Then they do the other side of my leg. My mom gets there seeing tons of bloody bandages and stuff around me. She freaks out and calls the cops. After I'm cleaned up and on some good pain meds, I talk to an officer. After he takes some pics of my wounds for the case, I talk him through what happened. We then decided to go to the owner's place and check it out. We get there, cop knocks on door. Woman opens it. "Excuse me, ma'am. I have a gentleman here who was knocked into that ditch by a dog living here, supposedly." Woman goes, "No, my dog Hannibal," literally his name, couldn't make that up, "is an old dog who only has a couple teeth. No way he would hurt someone." Hannibal looks out and starts barking and snapping towards me. Woman drags him back. Policeman, "Well, I've seen enough." Woman, "Are they pressing charges?" Police, "Not sure yet, so I go home, think about it, and decide that I want my hospital costs to be paid for, and then a little bit for the pain. I think the total was like $2,000. Hospital was about $1,250 of it. My mom's friend who was a lawyer said I could sue for up to $5,000. I decline and then get asked if I want the dog put down. I have a dog of my own. I love dogs. I couldn't put the dog down. I decline on that also. Knowing I don't want to have someone's animal put down if they love him, So fast forward a month. I'm told the owner is wanting to go to court to argue against the charges. Excuse me, what? This is a clear-cut case? I have eyewitnesses, doctors that saw my injuries, pictures, a policeman who saw your dog go after me on sight. What the duck? So I go to the courthouse, and even though the woman was not supposed to talk to me until we were in the courtroom, she comes over to me and says, "I can't afford this. I'm so sorry, I have to fight it." Now I feel bad. I stay quiet and we go into the courtroom. I tell my side of it, the witnesses do too. I feel bad the whole time thinking this woman is about to lose everything. Policeman will show his findings the next day. I don't sleep all night. Next morning, policeman comes by my place and asks to talk with me. I sit outside with him and tell him I think I'm going to drop most of the charges because I feel bad for this old lady. Policeman says, "Not so quick, I did some digging." He shows me pictures of the house and a small backyard in the back. There are literally 6 dogs, all boxers, stuffed inside this tiny backyard. Oh, duck no. It gets worse. She owns them and keeps them for a wealthy guy in New York City. He sells them to people, not telling them that they are cooped up and aggressive as duck. I instantly think they're going to be put in dogfighting rings and such. I researched the price of a pure blood boxer. They can go from $500, $3,000. She has 6 of them. Bullcrap, she can't afford it. I'm sure she's had some other dogs before too, so I'm ready to do what needs to be done. Back to the courtroom. Judge: Yesterday I was told you were thinking about dropping the charges or at least lowering them. Me: Yes, Your Honor. The woman gets really excited. Me: That is, until this morning I found out some unsettling news about animal neglect and animal abuse. Woman's face gets shocked and then glares at me. Policeman goes and explains to the judge how the woman had never let the dogs out in the 3 days he watched the house, fed them very little, and ignored them completely. Hannibal had gotten through the fence and bit me. Judge is obviously an animal lover. Gets furious at the woman. I end up getting hospital bills covered, plus an additional $3,000. Woman loses all dogs to the animal shelter. I heard a couple had to be put down because they were so violent. The dude in New York got investigated, but I think he paid something that made it go away. Woman moved out of town after local paper heard news of it. The next one is a petty revenge story. Freshman year of college, I became friends with one of the girls on my floor named Jenna. We became decent friends after we and some other people on our floor would hang out every weekend or so. Jenna and her roommate, a nice nerdy girl, lived in a double that shared a bathroom with another double. It was set up in a way that you could walk freely between the 2 rooms via the bathroom. Both bathroom doors had locks on both sides for privacy when you needed to use it. Well, Jenna's sweet mates were these 2 attractive party-type girls who gave no ducks and never cleaned, as in overfilling the trash can with used tampons and the like. I'll refer to both of them as DOS ducks. Jenna would occasionally complain in passing about them being inconsiderate and dirty throughout the fall semester. One day during the spring semester, I overheard from our mutual friend that while Jenna and her roommate weren't in their room, DOS ducks came in and stole her full-length mirror. She was upset and cried at one point. I was livid. I remember reading someone's comment on some message board about a prank where you would fill up a manila folder full of shaving cream, slide the open end under a door, then stomp on it. The force of the stomp would spray it everywhere on the other side of the door. Bingo. I strolled my ass to the pharmacy and office supply store to pick those up, returned, and waited until it was late on a weeknight. I sporadically walked by DOS Duck's room to make sure I didn't hear any sounds, likely to be asleep. When it was time, I loaded it up as much as possible, slid my thing in, and shot my load. Holy crap, it was loud. Makes sense when you're stomping on tiled floor. I quickly grabbed the envelope and ran to my room, then went to bed. I told Jenna what I did the next time I saw her, and we had a good laugh. She told me several days later that DOS Ducks asked her if she knew who did it, and that it was annoying AF to clean. She basically shrugged her shoulders. I proceeded to do it several more times before the semester ended. The next one is a malicious compliance story. This happened a few years ago, but a conversation about parking has brought it back up, and I thought it would be perfect for this sub. It's fairly simply, but was so satisfying. So my house is at the end of a close. This is basically a small, longish, private dead-end road to which our house was the last one of. When you reach the end, The actual road morphed into our driveway, was a different color and was separated off by hedges, aside from the car entrance. It was clearly our driveway. We owned the land. Upon purchasing the house, my parents were not warned off any arsehole neighbors. The driveway has space for 4 cars. We have one. It's rarely used as both my parents get the train to London for work and walk to the station. This is relevant until we come back from a 2-week holiday and find an old Renault plonked on our driveway. At first we say nothing, because we have no issue with someone using our driveway just to visit their family or temporarily. But when the car kept leaving and coming back, we started to get annoyed. They hadn't even asked us. We don't use the other 3 spaces, but the rudeness pissed us off. So when the car next pulls into our driveway, we're waiting. We open the door, confront the driver, and ask him, nicely, to stop using our drive as a public car park. Neighbor gets annoyed, said he always used it. Old neighbors had no issue. Looks us dead in the eye and goes, "You can park anywhere else, but leave me my space or I'll be pissed." My dad replies and goes, "We can park anywhere else? In that case, we won't park where you park your car." Old rude man smiles, thinks he's won, and walks off a few doors down to his own house. I think my father has given up and let him win. I'm a bit disappointed. The next day I wake up for college to the sound of my dad's car. The old man has gone to work and my dad is in the process of parking his bunged up massive Land Rover right over the entrance to our massive drive, meaning no other cars can enter. Technically parking anywhere else other than where the old man wanted to leave his car. The next one is an entitled people story. This happened a while ago. I learned long ago how to study effectively for myself for tests. I was in college and needed to study for an upcoming test, so I was in the local library at a single table. I had everything spread out and color-coded with colored pens, pencils, markers, and highlighters. I was absorbed by what I was doing. A sweet, cute, and adorable little girl came to me to ask politely if she could use some paper and colored pencils. I told her no. She smiled and nodded and went back to her mom. I was about to go back to studying when her mom appeared by my side and looked angry as hell. She told me to either let her daughter use my things or put it away. Her daughter looked miserable and embarrassed. I felt really sorry for her. I just stared at her in complete surprise at the sheer entitlement. I had heard stories of similar people but had thought that it was exaggerated. I told her to leave me alone and go away. She told me I was being disrespectful to my elder. With a hard roll of my eyes, I told her, "Idiot, I am at least a few years older than you." She started screaming, which brought the librarian over. Y'all, I have never seen this woman be tough. I thought she was a pushover. She was so sweet and treated everyone like they were her babies. She was like the grandma everyone wanted. She went from sweet grandma to raging badass. Hell, she scared me worse than the time I got mock charged by a mama bear. She yelled at her, "What did I tell you about coming here again? Your daughter is welcome to come here." "You are not. You have been banned from here for harassing everyone here. Get out now." I'm pretty sure my eyes were popping out of my face. I was definitely slack-jawed. The entitled mom was backing up pretty fast. Then from raging badass in a spilt second back to sweet elderly grandma, she gave the little girl a hug and a kiss to her forehead. She came over to me see if I was okay and grinned at my shocked face. I always let people think that I'm too sweet to be tough. The surprise is effective. I nodded and started packing up my things and told her that I would never be able to refocus on my studies for that day. The next one is an entitled parent story. Our household always revolved around money, even though my mom made more than enough money and we were not struggling by any means. She complained about every single thing she had to buy for us. Everything. Food, clothes, medical expenses, toys, laptops and phones, school costs, everything. We always knew exactly how much we were costing her. We didn't dare ask for unnecessary things like leisure activities or expensive toys or hobby supplies. We started working very young and she manipulated and guilted us to give her all the money we earned to pay off what we owed. When I turned 18, she completely cut me off financially, but kindly offered to let me rent my bedroom out from her, and sent me an invoice of every cent I've ever cost her, totaling over $700,000. She billed me for Christmas and birthday presents. She even billed me for her medical expenses for the pregnancy and delivery, and wanted me to back pay rent to live in the house from birth. She did the same to my sister 2 years later when she turned 18. We were supposed to pay her back over time starting the day we turned 18. Both of us were still dealing with a lot of internalized guilt from her constant manipulation, so we actually did pay for a while. Aside from necessary expenses, our entire paychecks were going to her. We rented our bedrooms in her house, and she separated her food, cleaning supplies, cookware and tableware, etc., from ours and charged us to use them. She generously included the use of the household appliances in our rent. It wasn't until I was 21 and my sister was 19 that enough people had told us this whole arrangement was unhinged that we finally snapped out of it. We moved out together and have stopped paying our mom or even contacting her at all. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.